Hello everybody, this is the Adafruit CircuitPython Weekly for July 23rd, 2018. I'm Scott and I work on CircuitPython for Adafruit. CircuitPython is an easy to use embedded Python programming environment. You can plug in a device, it shows up as a USB drive, and you edit a Python file. You save and it reloads and runs your code. It's super quick, super easy. We have this meeting every week at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern on our Discord chat. Everybody is welcome to join. We don't do live streams to YouTube or anything though, so if you do want to see it live, join our Discord. To join the Discord, you could go to the URL adafru.it/discord. And then you'll see that both on the left-hand side, the voice chat and the text chat for CircuitPython. We're in the CircuitPython text chat most of the week, so feel free to stop there and say hi. We're in the voice chat on Mondays for the meeting. This meeting is recorded, so everybody be aware that you are being recorded. It is posted to the Adafruit YouTube channel, youtube.com/Adafruit. Along with notes, and the notes include time codes, so if you need to skip around in it, check out the notes for that. I also posted into the text chat a link to the notes, so if you want to follow along to the note taking, feel free to take a look there. The meeting is structured in 4 parts. It starts with a state of CircuitPython, which is a quick rundown on stats about the project and the related repos. Then we'll go into Hug Reports, which is a chance to say thank you to folks for the work that they've been doing related to CircuitPython. We do that in a round robin format, so I will start and then we'll go down the list of people in the voice chat. We do that because that gives everybody a chance to say something, which is the goal, is to include everybody. People do have the option of lurking, so we'll just skip over them. We establish that kind of either in the text chat or beforehand. After we do Hug Reports, we'll do status updates, which is kind of what you were working on in the last week and what you plan on working on in the coming week. It just makes everybody aware of what's going on, and potentially you can give tips and tricks to other people about what they're working on. So that's cool. And then lastly, we'll have a discussion / in the weeds section where we talk about any big topics that came up earlier in the meeting, where we can potentially get into nitty-gritty technical details or all sorts of different types of discussions. So if you're watching this later, feel free to check the notes and skip around to things that are interesting to you. And with that, I'll take a time code and we'll dive into the state of CircuitPython section. My brain can't type and take time codes, so sorry for that. Okay, state of CircuitPython. This includes the libraries and the newsletter repo, so it's not just Adafruit /CircuitPython on GitHub. In the last week, as of this morning, we had 16 pull requests merged from 5 different authors who have all contributed before, so thank you everybody. And then 4 reviewers for that as well. I wanted to just do a quick shout out. Arturo182 is now able to do PR merges, so that's super helpful, and thank you, Arturo. We've had 4 new PRs in the last week as well. That leaves us with 11 open pull requests. 5 of those are on CircuitPython. I didn't get it. I usually go through some of them before the meeting and go through them, but I haven't had a chance to do that. So all of these are open. If you're interested to know what those 11 are, check the notes. Issue-wise, we had 11 closed issues by 6 people and 14 opened by 5 people. Means we're growing a little bit in the number of open issues, but that's not too bad with a net of 3. We still, I keep saying this, but we should take a look at the issues that are open on libraries in particular, because I think that number is growing. It used to be that most of those were centralized to the CircuitPython repo, but I think more and more are collecting in the libraries. So we should take a look at that. So if you're interested in helping with that, please check out the notes. It's got 138 total open issues that we can use the help for. Download stats wise, we don't have an unstable release, so I won't read off download stats for that, but we do have 3.0 came out, I think, just over a week ago, and it has 1,468 total downloads, which is a pretty good number. It's definitely going up quicker than we've seen our unstable releases, as we would expect. And then in terms of which boards are getting the most downloads, by far the Circuit Playground Express is in the lead with 379, kind of followed by the Trinket M0 with 175, and below that they're kind of all about the same. So if those numbers are curious to you, you can check the notes and you can see it for every board. Yeah, and then overall, if I had to summarize what the state of CircuitPython is that we're 3.0's out. We may do a 3.01 not too far from now, because Dan did find an import bug that I had introduced, and so getting a fix for that might be something we want to do for 3.0. And then I wouldn't be surprised if we did a 4.0 alpha pretty soon, because the workflow for the Bluetooth stuff is starting to get there. So I think, kind of like last time, we'll do an early alpha release, and then we'll have a long alpha phase as we add all of the APIs for the Bluetooth, or for the NRF 52840. So yeah, it's exciting. We're in the early stages of 4.0, which is really fun to experiment and play around with. So we will keep doing that. All right, well, that is the state of CircuitPython. I'll take another time code and jump straight into Hug Reports. Hug Reports is a chance for people to say thank you to folks for the work that they've been doing within the community. In particular, I lost my train of thought. I'm a little jet lagged, although I should be more awake, not less awake. We do Hug Reports as a round robin, so I'll start, and then I usually also read any Hug Reports that people have asked me to read off because they weren't able to make the meeting. So I'll do that as well, and then I'll circle back, and Brent will be the next person after I do that. So Hug Reports for myself. I just wanted to do a big group hug because I've been out since Wednesday. I was in Michigan visiting my fiance's family, and Katney and I had lunch as well. So I've been kind of off the grid. I'm getting caught up now. I'm caught up on the Discord chat, and I just saw everybody being super welcoming. A lot of new folks came in, and that's very exciting. So thank you, everybody, for being welcoming and supportive to everybody new who came in while I was gone, and really covering for me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so that I'll just do a group hug for myself. And then we had one person who wasn't able to make it, 3bits, who's also new to the community, made sure they went on vacation as well, but wanted to do Hug Reports and status updates. So 3bits, actually, let me take a time code. Says, thanks to everyone who's helping to reduce the barriers which slow or prevent a new user from getting their first project up and running. So that was from 3bits. Hug Report to everybody for doing that. As you know, it's one of our main goals, so that's awesome to hear that they understand that. Brent, how about you?
Hug Report to Cater for helping me with the ADC libraries the past week and putting up with me going through different iterations of it. Super helpful, and ask him about anything to do with ADCs. He's got it.
Awesome. Carter, how about you?
Welcome back, and I'll go with just a group hug this week.
Okay. Dan?
Hi. Yeah, welcome back, and I missed wishing you happy birthday verbally, so a little belated, but that's happy birthday, definitely. And also thanks this week, I'd say, to Arturo for continuing a lot of work on the NRF port. And also a new person, the guitar guy, or DA guitar guy, who characterized the import, slow import problem, which was very helpful.
Oh, yeah, totally. Cool.
Okay.
Thanks, Dan. Jerry.
Yeah, the usual group hug everybody for a really good week of overall progress, and a special note, thanks to Somersault for his really outstanding work on the Discord and the forums, just being supportive to everyone, especially me.
Awesome. All right, Josh is text only, so I'll read Josh's here. Josh says, hug report this week to those who have been contributing to all the CircuitPython docs, as they have come in very handy this week whilst doing work on EduBlocks for CircuitPython. For those of you who don't know, EduBlocks is Josh's project to do block-based Python programming, which is a super cool project, and very excited to have CircuitPython support in the works. Okay, Kattni.
Hi. So, hug to Dan for helping me with I2S stuff. I ran into a weird issue and he helped me figure it out. To Carter and Brent for proofing my guides for me and finding issues with my wiring diagrams, to Phil M for helping me test all my wiring diagrams and my guide stuff, and then to Roy, Dan, and Phil for helping me this weekend. I was working on stuff for my the tutorial that I'm doing at a conference coming up this weekend, and they helped me through a bunch of stuff that I was overthinking, and really helped out. So thank you very much for that.
Awesome. All right, Mike is lurking, so we'll go to Summersoft. Summersoft says, Jerry N, Nis, Bravo Delta, Radomir, and Carter, and anyone I missed for the support they provided this week. It was busy on that front. Congrats to Happy Day for getting sleep working, and Hop Cappy for getting a Python library ported over. And previous hugs plus equals group hug. Yeah, totally. C. Grover, I know you just hopped in. Do you have any hug reports? General group hug. Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. I'll just add the one for myself. Kattni again is helping with notes. So thank you, Kattni, for removing that burden from me while I'm typing, considering my my typing speed has been slowed.
You are welcome.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to status updates. 12:57. Status updates is when we talk about the work that we did in the last week and then kind of what we're planning on doing in the coming week. It's a great way for people to be aware of who's doing what, and also provide tips and tricks for people as they do the work that they were planning on doing. For myself, the last week's pretty easy because I was out Wednesday through Sunday. Before that, I had intended on doing some heap memory allocation stuff, but I got distracted about Bluetooth APIs, and I actually wanted to just drop a link. I came up with this, what I think is a more Pythonic API for Bluetooth low energy devices, and I'm looking for feedback for that. So if anybody wants to help provide some feedback on Bluetooth programming, take a look at that. I spent Tuesday doing that basically, which is right after the meeting. And so I'm going to ping Arturo on that again and make sure I get his feedback on it. And then I want to finish up this memory allocation stuff because it's basically done, but I just haven't gotten it PR'd. I think I commented on what it was, but it's the idea that you can, the heap is no longer statically allocated at compile time. We actually just, I've added this notion of a supervisor that kind of manages when Python is actually running. And so it will actually just use the remaining memory depending on like how much we've set aside for the stack and other things. It'll just use the remaining memory for the heap. So we should see our heap sizes actually go up a little bit across the board. And I also want to add the ability of like adjusting stack sizes, providing different USB descriptors and things like that. So having this more flexible but rudimentary memory management outside of the Python VM should be quite cool. So I'm working kind of in two fronts. One is like making sure the Python Bluetooth APIs are kind of the direction I want to go, and then the other side is doing this groundwork on memory stuff. So that's what I'm working on, and I'll read off 3-bits here. 3-bit said, I spent most of this week working on Rosie CI. I got a free Amazon S3 account so I can emulate the entire production system. After a fair bit of hacking, I got a local instance running to the point where it was downloading the binaries, but it would not actually run the tests. My goal for the coming week will be to add more verbose debug statements with timestamps so I can get a better idea of when things are happening and why it's not completing for me. So yeah, 3-bits was interested in running Rosie CI, which is our continuous integration testing on actual hardware. Something I just whipped up, so it's pretty unreliable, but 3-bits has some background with testing, so I guess they were interested in doing that. So definitely welcome to get people hacking on that. Okay, Brent.
Yeah, so this past week let's see if this actually pastes. Yay. I was working on the MCP 3004, 308 ADC, which was supposed to be for the Raspberry Pi, but I realized like 20 minutes ago that there's no write read into, so I'm going to add that to Blinka in the next week. And but it does work on CircuitPython devices, and that's the PR if anybody wants to do a code review, aside from, of course, Lady Ada. We're doing a different type of API for this versus the one that Carter did. It's going to be more pin-based than it is channel-based, so kind of abstracting it even more. And that's about it. And eventually, once I add this stuff into Blinka and it actually works on Pi, which I thought it would today, we'll update the learning guides for analog in, analog out for Adafruit IO. And then we'll move on to the DHT sensors next and servo, and
cool.
Just keep pushing ahead.
Yeah, I think the Blinka stuff got a really good reception, and then merging with the IoT stuff you've been doing is really quite exciting.
Yeah, there was somebody this morning who's like, I want to do the DHT example for Pi, but it doesn't work on the new IO library. I'm like, just wait 2 weeks.
We're on it.
Yeah.
Great. Well, it's really fun to see that get pushed and made awesome, or more awesome. All right, Carter.
Nothing specific to report on status-wise, just generally kind of been hanging out and helping out. But that what Brent just mentioned is kind of interesting because he's doing something different API-wise. So once that's all wrapped up, I kind of will take a look at what that ends up being, and I think it would make sense to change the ADS stuff to kind of match.
Yep.
So it all kind of works the same. Because what I did was just something I think you and I may have come up with. I'm not sure, but but no reason why we can't do have them both be the same. And then the other thing is just kind of looking back at my old code and all this, kind of helping Brent out as they're like, oh, here's how I did it. I go look at it. It's kind of like, oh, ooh, I could do it better now.
Yeah.
A little embarrassing to look at your first pass at making it a driver. So I kind of want to do some cleanup and everything else in that. So we'll wait and see once the MCP stuff is wrapped up, and then I'll probably start doing something like that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, don't feel bad. Like, we should expect to evolve things as we have a better understanding of what we want.
Right. It's not only API wise, but I've got like things like a cert in there and just other things that just shouldn't have been done in the first place that just kind of need a general cleanup.
We're just learning. No big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Carter. C. Grover says, oh, wait, time code. 1926. Wrapped up CircuitPython Feather M4 Express Eurorack synth design. Ooh. Gerbers are now parked on Oshpark, but waiting for physical components to arrive to double check mechanical fit. Designed a simple rack power distribution module yesterday. Swiss Army sequencer design in the formative phase. Front panel design to commence this evening. We'll be trying a new technique for full color panel graphics. If it works, I'll let you all know. Oh yeah, and still clearing brush and landscaping despite the blistering sun. Will these yard projects ever end? I think your yard projects end when you get snow, right? That synth stuff sounds really cool. I'd love to talk more about it. I've been thinking a lot about synth APIs, particularly around sequencing for the gaming handheld. So I'm very curious to see if we can't come up with some APIs that can apply across all of our synth stuff. I know that Old Crow's done some as well. So it would be good for us to kind of be in the same line and be able to do some really cool things. I just ordered a pocket operator for myself this morning, so it should come later today, which is very exciting. I got the pocket operator 20, which is the arcade module, which I thought was fitting. Thanks, C. Grover. Dan.
So I'm finishing up the merge from MicroPython upstream. It's just complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Making sure that it runs. I got it running on Atmel and then NRF, and then there were some issues with ESP 8266. So I'm not sure whether I'll just submit the PR or maybe I'll hand out some UF2s for a few people to try out, especially on the more obscure platforms. And I did look into that bug where imports are really slow. Some like exponential case where the more or functions that you define, it rapidly gets out of hand. So I have a fix, but Scott can look at that too. And that's pretty much it. Those things took a lot of time, both of those.
And what are you doing this week? Continuing
finish up the merge, and there's some utility tasks like getting the bootloader repo into Travis and getting NRF util into PyPy.
Right. All good things.
So that's what's just lumbering along on that stuff. Okay.
Yeah, and you made all those issues for the NRF stuff as well, which was really handy.
Yeah, I forgot I did that after. Right, I went through the whole source tree and compared what was in the NRF tree with the Atmel tree to see what was really implemented and what wasn't, and then wrote an issue for everything that wasn't implemented.
Yeah, super helpful. Thanks for doing that.
You're welcome.
All right, Jeff is lurking, so we'll go to Jerry.
I spent a bunch of time early in the week on this funny little problem with the AM2320 sensor on NRF32, and it turns out it looks like everything's actually working the way it's designed to work, and it's just that sensor has a little funky wake-up system that isn't completely compatible with the way the I2C library works. You can't scan it; it won't respond to a scan, but it works fine on the Atmel boards when you actually just talk to it, because they do a retry. Basically, the first access to the thing gets thrown away, and then it wakes up and then it responds. So if you retry, you're fine. But on the NRF52, that isn't in yet. But Arturo's on that, and he's anxious to fix it.
Cool.
So that's to bring that sensor online. I don't know if in the long run we want to do anything about the way it works or not. My sense is probably not, because it functions. It's just a little funky.
Yeah.
And then a big finding that's been driving me crazy for a while is that I've never been able to get Mu to work properly on a Ubuntu 16.04 machine. It works on 16.08, and there was a problem with it. Turns out that if you upgrade to Python 3.6 on an Ubuntu 16.04 machine, you can use Mu. You probably can't. Similarly, on the Blinka, I ran into there was a problem earlier in the week. I spent a lot of time upgrading all my Raspberry Pis to Python 3.6, which takes a really long time because you have to compile it and stuff. And it turns out then Brent fixed that, so it's really not necessary anymore. It was nice to get them upgraded. So
yeah,
that was a good. To do, I saw in the notes that the TMP07 library is still just a template. That's why it's getting all those errors.
Yeah.
I do have a working version. I just need to find time to do battle with Travis and get it in there.
Okay.
And that's about it.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Jerry. Josh, do you have stuff? I know you're typing only. Josh says, work this week has been building edgy blocks for CircuitPython and getting more blocks in there, as well as getting the block transparency slider working that Josh or me and Tan Newt talked about at PyCon, where you can drag blocks or just drag text. I've also been doing my talk for EuroPython, which is on Friday in Scotland, which I'll be talking about edgy blocks on Raspberry Pi and Microbit, as well as an update on CircuitPython. Awesome. Also been working on Micromag, which is micromag.cc issue 2, which is the Microbit magazine. Lots of MicroPython stuff in there, which is exciting. Awesome. Thanks, Josh. And I'm super excited to see your updated talk and the block transparency stuff. I'm really curious to see as well. We were talking about that as a way to interact with code on a mobile device, where you can drag as if it were blocks, but not have to look at all of the blocks themselves, which I'm really curious to see how that turned out. So it'll be soon. Okay, Kattni.
So, worked on both the UDA 1334 and the Max 98357 I2S CircuitPython guide updates. Both of those boards now have CircuitPython examples on the guide, and that was all tested and taken care of, and that's finished up. I got the EPD e-ink library set to go and published. However, I noticed as I was scrolling down the notes that there's some things that are missing from it. So I need to take a look at that apparently. The Pixie library is set to go unpublished. We updated the Pixie guide with a CircuitPython page. And now I'm working on a new CPX infrared communication guide, where we're going to show how to send messages between two Circuit Playground Expresses.
Cool.
Using IR and CircuitPython. And I spent the weekend working on getting my tutorial ready for PyOhio, which is coming up next weekend. I flashed and set up 40 Circuit Playground Expresses, which was fun. Worked on my slides and also worked on a handout for, I think I'm going to try and do an open spaces as well. And so I worked on a handout for that because that worked pretty well at PyCon. And that's, so I will be leaving Friday morning for the conference.
Okay.
This weekend. And otherwise, oh, and I'm going to be updating the audio page on the Circuit Playground Express guide because it's still using the 2.0 API. And that's my week.
Awesome. Thanks, Kattni. Mike and Nis are both lurking, I think. So, Summersoft, you are up. Usually. Yep, there we go. Summersoft says, frequency in module, spent the week playing with DFLL on the M4 to try and fix or verify my assumptions on inaccuracies. Thanks to that, and finally stumbling onto the variability listed in the datasheet for DFLL open loop, I'm 99.2% sure that is the culprit. As Dan pointed out to me yesterday, closed loop is interoperative from the factory. So I started working on using the freq-m peripheral to try and measure the clock's actual frequency, internal use only, not brought out to the Python layer. We'll probably still switch back to getting the tc.count approach to work, though the math may still be adversely affected by the clock skew. Yeah. And then also in terms of Adabot library patching, requested changes made, PR pending merge. Okay, so I've got to look at that today as well. Cool. And that reminds me as well, as if anybody is waiting for reviews from me in particular, please ping me, especially because I'm backlogged. So if I don't get it to you by the end of the day today, just bug me and I will take a look at it. Generally, if you try to get me to review something and I don't do it within 24 hours during the week or by the end of Monday, if it's after the weekend, you have every right to heckle me and tell me I should review it, because that is the kind of the guarantee I want to give in terms of review cycle time. So Summersoft, that applies to you as well. Okay, thank you everybody. Let's move on to discussion / in the weeds. That was status updates, and I'll take a time code. Discussion / in the weeds is a section where we can talk about anything that came up. I didn't hear anybody actually mention anything, so I'm not sure if anybody has anything they want to talk about. I guess, one thing I just wanted to mention was Pylint. We've been really good, and we got Pylint running on all of our repos. But when we did that where it just automatically installs the latest Pylint, and they just released Pylint 2.0 very recently, and it added some more checks. And I know that most folks have run into that. The theory with having something like Pylint run is that like the code checked in is clean, it doesn't cause errors, and so the only errors that you have to deal with are your own. But in this case, where Pylint went from 1.92 to 2.0, it introduced it caught new errors in the existing code, which is no fun. So I think our goal going forwards is to explicitly install a version of Pylint, and then only upgrade deliberately when we can fix all of the existing new errors. So that's the goal.
Scott, on that, one thing that happened to me that was a little frustrating, and that was that I didn't realize that Pylint gets run again when you do a release. And so I had checked in a bunch of stuff, and it got all passed and accepted and merged.
Yeah.
But then it sat for a while, a couple of days before I got around to trying to do a release.
Yep.
And all of a sudden it failed all these tests.
Yep.
So, just a heads up to people that if you don't once you get it emerged, don't wait. Get it released before Pylint.
Well, fixing the version that we run Pylint will also avoid that problem. Because what had happened to you is that you weren't trying to check new code in, you were actually just trying to rerun it, and between those two, like, the version had changed, and therefore the checks had changed as well.
And as frustrating it is, I mean, the changes that it made were actually valid, just pedantic, but they didn't hurt. But it's just annoying to have to spend the time to go do another PR.
Totally. Yeah. That was my read on it too, is that the new things that it was calling out were good and they were valuable, but it was happening at the wrong time. Basically, like the new stuff, when we update to Pylint, we should be explicit in choosing to accept those as valid critiques of the linter, and then we should explicitly like fix the things before we upgrade to it. Whereas we didn't have that in this case, so we still have some work to do. Or I think Dan did some work already to fix it to a particular version. So going forward, when you create new stuff, let's make sure that the Pylint version is fixed. And in fact, we could, if somebody wanted to add an AdaBot check for what version of Pylint we were using, that would probably be good. Just as a way to make sure that all our repos are using the latest, but making it a manual step to update them. Okay, that was Pylint. Are there any other things people want to talk about?
I had a question about NR52 roadmap, if that's a good time.
Yeah, and then I saw Carter, and we'll do Carter next after that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, all right, I can wait.
No, Jerry, go.
Okay. I was just curious. Right now, I know a lot of the development work is going on in the 52840. The only board that's out there right now is the development kit.
Yep.
And also, I mean, there are these little dongle boards. I know I have a couple of them, these really cheap dongle boards, which I assume that, whenever somebody gets some time, they might come online. That'd be kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's a plan for that. That's one of the things I was curious about. I think Arturo's got it in his to-do list, but low priority. But my real question was, what's the first Adafruit board that's going to support the 52840? Do you know, and do you have sort of a general idea as to when it might hit the streets?
I think
Would be a Feather?
I think Feather is likely the first form factor. Lamore just talked about it a little bit. So it'll likely be Feather, and the timing all depends on module availability. Because the Feather won't have a bare NRF52 chip on it, it'll actually be on a module. That was like her feeling was that if the module's ready soon, then we'll release it soon. But she did want to make sure that we had like kind of the same alpha state that we had with the Metro M4, where it's okay that it's super early, but we do want to have something that you can do on it before we release it. So I think it.
Yeah, the DK boards are great for working on now, and if these dongle boards do get a BSP for them, they would be really great to be able to play with in the meantime. I was just curious. So it looks like it's not imminent, but it's in the works.
Yeah, I think Arturo's been doing some great work along with TAC. So I think that on the software side, we'll be ready when the modules are available. It's just a question of when the modules will be available. In terms of when we'll actually get like a Feather. For the dongle support, it doesn't, like, whenever somebody wants to add it, I'm more than welcome to it. I should order some myself, but I haven't actually done that yet.
Yeah, on that topic, it says it has a DFU bootloader on it. So is that a generic term? So that if it says it does DFU, does that mean we ought to be able to talk to it with minimal effort?
DFU is kind of like a standard USB bootloader sort of thing. It's not UF2 like we have, so it would be different.
But on the Feather 52, on the 52832,
right,
they have a DFU bootloader.
Yep.
As well.
Yep.
And I wonder, so is that likely to be portable? The same, would it load the same way as that?
I would hope so, but I haven't tried it, so I don't know for sure.
All right, good. Well, I might do some poking at it too then. I wasn't quite sure.
Cool.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, we're making great progress on NRF, so it's exciting.
Jerry, you have one of the dongles, right?
Yes, I do, and I actually have if somebody needs one, I've got a spare.
Is that pad on the back meant for the SWD connector?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So you could you could solder one of the SWDs on there as well. It looks like from my reading of the schematic and all.
Nice.
Thanks.
But if the DFU bootloader works, it may not be necessary.
Right.
Cool. That's interesting. I didn't know it had that.
Yep.
Okay. Carter, what you got?
Mine was purely kind of program related, and Python, and just kind of wanting someone to sanity check my way of doing this. This has come up a couple of times where I've been needing to add some members to a derived class.
Mm-hmm.
So let me put a little code snippet in here.
Okay.
And what is the Pythonic way of kind of future-proofing your call to the superclass when you just basically, you want to make sure you call the supers init,
right,
and then do your new stuff. So it's not the adding of the new stuff that I'm questioning. It's kind of like that, just that simple boilerplate of getting the call to the supers init out of the way. How you can do that so that either the parameters are generic or, just kind of, what is the best way to do that?
It depends.
So maybe that's it. Maybe there is no just one answer.
One thing it depends on is that, like, so I was thinking a lot about this when I was brainstorming for the Bluetooth API, where your subclass may actually want to be simpler in the arguments it takes in its constructor. So basically, like in your example, that first set of question marks may be shorter than the second set, potentially.
Right.
So in that case, you're really just kind of doing the basic thing of like the ones you want to pass through, you pass through, and the ones in the actual super call, you may just provide defaults. There is a way to wrap up keyword args so you can pass them into another thing, but I kind of doubt that you want to do that.
Because I think I had done that a couple times. Like I had seen some examples where they were doing that, and I thought that was a way to kind of just kind of take in whatever gets passed in. Like if you didn't want to change the parameters of init, right. So you could just, I keep saying kind of future proof, like say foo1 changed, you wouldn't have to do anything in foo2.
Right. You could do star KW args and then star KW args in it again.
Right. It just basically is a conduit that just like sucks it in and passes it on.
Right. Yeah, you can do that. I don't necessarily think that's it depends on what you're doing, but it may not be the right thing to do.
Okay.
Because you may want to simplify it instead.
But in general, is this kind of construct the most Pythonic way of
calling super?
Yeah, calling super and also adding things to the derived class.
Yeah, that looks like the right form if you're needing more initialization stuff, but also want to call the parent one.
Okay, it's incredibly hard to find like good conversations about this.
Yeah,
by just kind of Googling around, you find specifics about what to do, but not like best approaches and stuff.
Right. Yeah, I think that looks right.
Okay, so I'm more or less on the right track.
I think so.
Thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to sanity check my thinking on this.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else have feelings about that? Nope.
I think the place I've seen this a bunch is in the devices that have both, I2C and SPI interfaces on the same chip.
Right.
Is this used? Yeah. So I was just going back to look at some of the examples of how that was done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's okay. All right. Any other discussion topics folks have? Nope.
Me.
Okay, go.
Sorry. We just released a new guide, Make It Plot, part of our Make It series. It just gives you a really quick and dirty example of writing CircuitPython code in the Mu editor, and you pressing the plotter button, and boom, you have your serial REPL data plotting. It's more for beginners, but I just thought I'd mention it.
Awesome. Yeah, those Make It guides are really neat.
I'm waiting for Make It Rain Cryptocurrency, but that one's really hard.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll happen.
Anyway, sorry I was gone earlier in the meeting, but working on insurance with the car. Yeah. But everybody's doing a great job. I really appreciate, especially the community support. We're really knocking out some bugs and some features that we wouldn't be able to do otherwise.
Yeah, totally. Great.
Okay.
And
thanks a lot.
That's a great point to end the meeting. Everybody, thank you for making it. I know that for some folks it's hard because it's during the work week, but those of you who can, we really appreciate it. For those of you just tuning in, this happens every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern on the Adafruit Discord voice channel or server and the CircuitPython voice chat. If you're curious in joining in, you're more than welcome to. It happens when it happens. To join, you can go to the URL adafru.it/discord, and that will get you into our Discord chat. We'll be in the text chat basically all the time, but we're in the voice chat only a few times. So yeah, join us there. And then we have this recorded along with a video of the text chat itself available on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Adafruit. That happens every week. There's a playlist if you want to go back and listen to previous episodes. In the description of that video, there's a link to the notes, which include time codes. So if you want to skip around, you can do that. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you all next week.
Thanks, everyone.